Picture this. It's a quiet night. You're scrolling through your phone and you come across a name from your past. Someone sharp. Someone who used to see things before everyone else did. Someone who didn't just follow conversations. They changed them. And now, silence. No updates, no noise, no presence. They didn't crash. They didn't fall apart. They didn't become a cautionary tale people whisper about over dinner. They just faded out. And that leaves a question sitting heavy in your chest. Where did they go? I'm going to tell you something most people won't say out loud. They didn't disappear because they lost. They disappeared because they saw too much. There comes a point in life where certain people start noticing patterns that others glide right past. They just don't see what's happening. They see why it's happening and where it's going next. At first, it looks like ambition, drive, and hunger. But then something shifts. The same energy that once pushed them to climb ladders and chase visibility starts turning inward. They stop chasing approval. They stop performing. They start building something deeper, something quieter, something that doesn't need an audience to exist. And from the outside, it looks like they're falling off. But inside, something else is happening. They've seen the script. They've realized that most people are not living by choice. They're living by programming. They want what they were told to want. They chase what they were trained to chase. And they measure their worth using standards they didn't create. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you can't keep playing along the same way. Now let me break something down that doesn't get talked about enough. If your mind works on a deeper level, you pay a price for that every single day. Every conversation becomes translation. You take complex thoughts and break them down into something simple enough for people to digest. You remove the layers. You strip out the nuance. You water it down just enough so people don't feel overwhelmed. And every time you do that, something inside you feels off. Because you know that's not the full truth. You say less than what you see. You explain less than what you understand. You hold back not because you're unsure, but because you know people won't follow. And that constant shrinking, it wears you down. It's exhausting to live below your natural level just to make others feel comfortable. So after a while, you stop trying. You get quieter. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're tired of saying less than what you mean. Here's another truth people don't like to face. When you think clearly, you make others uncomfortable. Not because you're attacking them, not because you're trying to dominate the room, but because your way of thinking exposes gaps they don't want to see. And people don't always respond to that with respect. They respond with resistance. They call you difficult. They say you overthink. They label you as negative or unrealistic. They dismiss what you're saying instead of engaging with it. Not because you're wrong, but because it challenges their comfort. So what happens? You start getting pushed to the side, talked over, overlooked. Your ideas get ignored until someone else repackages them in a more acceptable way. And after enough of that, you make a quiet decision. This space isn't built for me. So you step back. Let's keep it real. The world says it values intelligence, but what it really rewards is simplicity, speed, and performance. Short answers, fast opinions, easy to digest ideas. Depth doesn't trend. Nuance doesn't go viral. And if you're someone who naturally thinks in layers, who sees multiple sides, who understands that truth is really simple, you're already at a disadvantage in a system built for quick consumption. So you face a choice. Do you shrink yourself to fit the system, or do you step away and protect your mind? Some people choose to stay and play the game, but others, they walk away. Now here's where people get it wrong. They think withdrawal is weakness. They think stepping back means you couldn't handle it. But sometimes withdrawal is the strongest move you can make. Because you're not running away. You're redirecting your energy. Instead of wasting it on conversations that go nowhere, you invest it into something meaningful. Instead of performing for approval, you start creating for purpose. You build in silence. You think without interruption. You finally give your mind the space it's been begging for. And for the first time in a long time, you feel relief. Now let me be clear about something. There's a difference between disappearing because you're broken and stepping back because you're building. One comes from fear, the other comes from clarity. When you're building, your silence has direction. You're not just avoiding the world. You're preparing something within yourself that the world can't shape, distort, or water down. You're developing ideas, strengthening your thinking, aligning your life with something real instead of something expected. And that kind of work, it requires space. It requires distance. It requires silence. If any of this is hitting you, let's call it what it is. You've been pulling back. Conversations don't hit the same. Social spaces feel draining. Small talk feels like noise. And you're not depressed. You're just tired of pretending. You're tired of shrinking. You're tired of playing a role that doesn't fit anymore. And what you're feeling right now isn't failure. It's transition. It's growth. It's your mind demanding more spaces to be what it really is. Let me give it to you straight. The people who end up shaping the world are rarely the loudest ones in the moment. They are the ones who are willing to step back, go quiet, and do the work nobody could see. They were misunderstood, overlooked, and sometimes even dismissed, but they stayed true to their path. And when their work finally surfaced, it spoke louder than any performance ever could. That's the path you're looking at. And I have to tell you, It's not easy, but it's real. You're not disappearing. You're shedding what no longer fits. You're stepping out of a system that was never designed for how you think. You're choosing depth over noise, truth over approval, substance over performance. And that kind of choice, it will make you look invisible for a while. But don't get it twisted. You're not gone. You're just finally showing up where it actually matters. So build your space. Protect your mind. Do your work. And understand this clearly. The world always catches up to those who refuse to water themselves down. I hope you understand. This is how I've felt for a while. This is why I'm not as aggressive with content as much, because I'm building something deeper. But I haven't gone. I'm not leaving. I just refuse to deal with the riffraff. I refuse to deal with the Colgate smiles that are forced, but don't mean anything at all from the heart. But I'm still here, and I'm always going to vibe with those who vibe with me and understand me. But I'm not going to go beyond to reach out to people who refuse to understand. So I'm going to be myself and become more authentically raw with what's at the core of my being. And that's how you leave a real legacy. Not following a blueprint, but going deep inside to manifest your seeds of greatness. Thank you very much for listening. Leave your comments and let me know if you understood what I just said. Until next time, Lance Scurv out. On to the next one. Peace.